What is up, Knights of X? We are here for Datacron Set 32's review, and this set is one of the most important sets we have seen in a very long time because it's not faction specific. It literally affects every single squad in this game, and I don't know if you guys have noticed, very accessible to early game players because the level 3 through 4, I believe, or 5 affects only Gear 4. So everybody can utilize this early, mid, and late game, so this is a very important set. Not only that, we're going to get Jedi training Leia while going hard for this conquest, so I highly advise that everyone really focuses on getting as many Datacrons as possible because it affects every single team. I want to start out by saying I want to apologize for the delay on this video. With vacation, the recent conquest that came out, very important to get those cheeses out for the entire community. It's a little bit delayed, but I'm kind of happy I did delay it because the way this set works is a little confusing. The 3 and the 6s are dictated based off the level 3. Or should I say the 6 and 9s are dictated off the 3 because healer can only go for attacker and tank can only go for support. So it's not like it can affect every single thing. So if I did this a couple weeks ago, I probably would have been confused and recommended the wrong thing. So I'm happy I took my time with it. But without further ado, we're going to get started right away with the review, going right to the slide. Now, this is a very important set, like I've said. We're going to start with the stats really quick, and you're going to see me moving around with my webcam so I can show you guys everything in the slide. So here we go. Starting out with the stats. 7 stats are coming back. I think it's repeated from previous set. I think the 4 strongest by far are going to be crit damage, protection, health, and offense. The most impactful stats for the set. Crit damage is probably number 1 in my opinion. Just being able to crit harder just means way more damage, and it really impacts many different teams. Protection as a stat is getting way more important because there's so many different teams that rely on protection, like JML with his leadership and his coin ability, Satil Shan with her protection, Jocasta Nu is based off of protection, so many different squads really rely on protection, and being extra tanky is really important. Same thing with health. A plethora of different teams are based off of max health. The more health you have, the more damage, the more tanky stats. It is really important. And I always like to include offense because there are certain squads that don't really rely on critical damage or critical chance hits, but the extra raw, pure offense is really the way to go. So I always think offense is a very good stat to have. Even though the spread isn't super high, I'm still a big fan of offense. Now, I am moving critical chance away from bad because I'm starting to realize that there is a use for it. It's just you don't want to land it on the 7 or 8. That's the biggest thing. If you get crit chance for like the 4, the 1, 2, maybe 3, the 4 and the 5, you don't really want it on the 7 and 8 because that's a really powerful slot for your other stats. But there are teams that have a use with crit chance. So I'm going to move it to decent. Potency and tenacity, you definitely want to have a couple of Datacrons that utilize some decent potency and tenacity. Always will have an impact. So I'm not going to say there are any bad stats anymore. They all have a use, but there are clear strong ones for the set. So that's going to wrap up the stats really quick. We're now going to move on to the level 3s, and this is different. It's not faction or light side or dark side. It's based off of role. Healer or tank is the level 3. So there are 3 clear ones, in my opinion, that will have a use on different teams. Not overpowered by any means, but they will all have a use. The first one is whenever healer allies recover protection, they gain 2% max protection stacking, max 150% until the end of the battle. So there are many different healers that have protection recovery. So if you think about Bo-Katan Mandalore, IG does have protection recovery based off of other characters. So his max protection or their max protection is going to be skyrocketing to crazy levels. So if you're going to be utilizing a Bo-Katan team with like a healer 3 and attacker 6, this is a very good option for you. But there's many different other options as well, like support with grit, and you're going to see. But I think that this will definitely have a use. You have characters like Seven Sister that will also utilize protection gain. So it really depends on what you're looking for. It has a use. The second one, whenever healer allies target another ally with an ability during their turn, they both gain certain stats. Defense, max health, protection, and offense stacking until the end of the battle. This is really nice to have. It's kind of like an endless ramp ability with who you're targeting. So, again, there are different healers, characters that can do that. You have IG, you have Seventh Sister. Ton of different healers. Those are just the 2 that are in my head right now, but this will also have a use. It's an endless ramping stack gain. It might take a long time to get it done, but you're endlessly going to stack, and I'm a big fan of that. The next one that's pretty strong is starting the battle with damage immunity. Definitely will have a use. Possibly on a stranger team, we're going to have to see. But you could probably do a combination of a healer 3 with an attacker 6 with stranger. And if you want to protect your healer against early game damage, that could be pretty nice to have. Not saying it's going to stop Queen Amidala, who has a opening buff removal, but it could definitely be strong in certain matchups. It just is really dependent on what you're trying to do. So those are the 3 clear strong ones. Now moving into the decent category, we have whenever healer allies start their turn with at least 2 debuffs that can be dispelled, they have a 65% chance to dispel all debuffs on themselves. So the reason why it's decent is because it's above the 50% threshold, and sometimes you rely on counters that have stun or permanent debuffs that like ability block, and if that can get cleansed away and it messes up your strategy, that could really throw off certain plans. So I am moving it into decent. It can have a use. It's not a guaranteed chance, so that doesn't make it into the strong. If it was like a 100% chance, it'd be very strong, but it's above the 50% threshold, and it will have a use. Now, I'm going to end up moving myself for the rest of the video, but over here, I didn't do it because it wasn't that big, but the next decent one is for the first time a healer ally falls below 50% health, they gain damage immunity for 1 turn and gain health steal up. So, not the strongest by compared to the other 4, but if you don't have the proper buff removal and you didn't hit them as hard, like nuking them out to a 0% health, they're going to get damage immunity, and it could end up saving them. So, it's situational, it's decent, but not as impactful as the other 4. So that's going to wrap up the healer level 3s. We're now moving on to the tank level 3s, and there are 2 clear strong ones that I like, and then 1 decent one that I was really considered putting it into the strong category. I might as well should, but we'll talk about it. I really like at the start of battle, tank allies gain retribution for 3 turns, which can't be dispelled. Any buff that's undispellable that guarantees damage or mitigates, or just gives damage back to the enemy, could strip away some banners, is always going to be pretty strong. We have a lot of really strong tanks in this game. We have multiple Galactic Legend tanks like Leia and GL Ahsoka Tano. We have characters like Malgus, Chrysanthemum, Wrecker, all different types of tanks that if you have Retribution, it can be pretty nice to have. So I think the 3-turn undispellable Retribution is a nice, strong stat. The next strong one that I think a majority of teams are going to go for is whenever a tank ally is critically hit, they gain 100% crit avoid and crit chance for 2 turns. So not being able to crit a very annoying tank is extremely difficult and annoying. So I think having 100% crit avoid against a very tough tank is very beneficial for your team. And sometimes tanks can hit pretty hard. Like GL Leia is a very hard-hitting tank. And if she has a 100% crit chance and guarantees a big hit, that's nice to have. So I'm a big fan of the 100% crit avoid. Now, the one that I was debating on putting into the strong category is whenever a tank deals damage to an enemy, and no other enemy is ability blocked, inflict ability block for 1 turn, which can't be evaded or resisted. So it is a strong mechanic. So let's say, for example, someone is doing like Sith Eternal without Wat Tambor, and you have a tank in your squad, and he's trying to do a solo. Well, he's never going to get to his ultimate or his big 1-pop ability if he's permanently ability blocked. So it's just situations like that where it could come in handy. I think the other 2 are stronger, but it definitely has a use and a really big argument to be in the strong category. Now, the next decent one is going to be at the end of each turn, tank allies recover health and protection equal to 50% of the amount enemies recovered that turn. This recovery can't trigger this effect on enemies. So, being able to recover health and protection is actually pretty strong. It just is dependent on the healing and protection recovered on enemies. So, it's not always going to be a guarantee. I can see it having a use in certain squads. I think the other 3 are stronger, but it is still decent because of the health and protection recovery. It can be kind of annoying to get through. And the only bad one is whenever a debuff on an enemy expires, tank allies gain 2% potency and tenacity stacking until the end of the battle. Automatic reroll, not going to have a use in any matchup. The other 4 are just simply way stronger. So that's going to wrap up the tank level 3s. We're now moving on to, by far, the most important 6, 9, 3 stat, whatever you call it. This is the most important aspect of the set. The attacker level 6, by far the most bananas broken and the most impactful. There are 3 clear strong ones that are going to highly benefit your squads and a majority of teams and comps and counters. The first one, whenever an attacker ally has full health and protection at the start of their turn, they deal 100% more damage on their turn. Absolutely insane if you can end up getting a full health and protection at your turn and deal damage. Think of characters like Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, where he's doing a big AoE pop at full health and protection, dealing 100% more damage. And let's say he gets low. Darkseid Rey is going to heal him back up to full health and protection with her second ability and just deal crazy more damage. So this one is going to be insane if you have protection recovery and you deal if you're at full health before your turn. It is insane and very impactful, and it's going to be a nightmare to deal with certain squads. The next one, whenever attacker allies inflict a debuff on an enemy during their turn, they deal bonus damage equal to 10% of the enemy's max health, which cannot be evaded. There are two teams that are screaming at me when I think of this. Number one is being Lord Vader, and the second one is being Jabba with Leia. Leia is dealing defense down and thermals on her turn, and that's going to be a 10% max health damage. It's going to be way better than dealing 100% more damage on her turn, because she can lose health to protection. She does have protection recovery and health recovery with Jabba, but I think that's going to be by far your best one for those two teams. Lord Vader is dealing a massive amount of debuffs on his passive as well as his second ability, that big AoE nuke with the dots. So, very strong, situational on certain squads, but going to be extremely impactful. And the next one, another really strong level 6. At the start of their first turn, attacker allies gain offense equal to 400% of their current defense until the end of the battle. Then they lose 50% defense until the end of the battle. Extremely strong. This is a certain thing that's going to be guaranteed throughout the battle. So, whatever you start with your defense percentage, it's going to be converted to offense, and you have that throughout the battle. Really good on certain squads, and if they have high defense stats, as a pure starting stat for them, they're going to just be hitting really hard with offense. So tie this in with high crit damage or offense stats on the set and good modding, you're going to be doing crazy, crazy damage. Now, the decent one is going to be whenever attacker allies critically hit an enemy during their turn, that ally gains 10% offense stacking for 2 turns. It's very nice to have. The only reason why it's not in the strong category is that it only lasts 2 turns. If it was an endless ramp or it had a cap of like 50% and stayed there for the rest of the battle, then it would be extremely strong. But it's only 2 turns, so it's in the decent category. And the worst one out of all the attacker ones is that at the start of each attacker ally's turn, if they have not taken damage since their last turn, they gain critical chance up and offense up for 1 turn. Simply not worth it compared to the other 4. Way more impactful, way more game-changing. So this is the simple level 6 you want to reroll always. So that's the attacker level 6. We're now moving on to the support level 6, and there's one clear winner with one pretty decent one in situational for certain compositions. But the best one that you're going to go for a majority of your teams is the wordy one. At the start of battle, support allies lose all max protection and gain that much max health. Support allies gain grit until the end of the battle, which can't be copied, dispelled, or prevented. And what grit is you take reduced damage from percent health damage effects. So things like dots, life drain from Malik, plague, all going to be prevented because of grit. Very good on certain matchups, and yeah, that's the clear winner for the support one. The next one that's going to be decent, that will be very good for certain squads, is whenever a support ally defeats an enemy, they take a bonus turn. So there are a lot of really strong support characters in this game. There are characters like Jar Jar, there's Ezra Bridger, there's so many. I'm just thinking off the top of my head of other support characters, but they can deal a lot of damage, and if they keep going endlessly and taking bonus turns, that's a pretty strong mechanic, so I'm a big fan of it. There's 3 clear bad ones that I don't think is going to impact many matchups. Whenever a support ally stuns an enemy, they gain speed up and offense up for 2 turns and inflict exposed for 2 turns at the end of that turn, which cannot be evaded. It's a lot of turns, but pretty much very situational. It relies on having a stun of the team, and you're only gaining speed up and offense up for 2 turns and inflicting exposed. I think there are way more impactful Datacrons, and simply going for this is just simply not going to be worth it for me. Next bad one, at the end of their turn, support allies recover 50% protection if they're afflicted with at least 5 debuffs that turn. I think that's probably the worst level 6 of the set, honestly. Not impactful at all, and just simply a massive reroll. Next one, whenever support allies recover health, they recover protection equal to the amount of health recovered. Support allies can't recover protection this way more than once per turn if their health was full. So, obviously the protection recovery is nice to have, but I don't think it's going to be impactful at the way that people are thinking and players want. Like, I just rather go for the grit or the bonus turn. So, I'm not a fan of it. I won't be going for it, and I don't recommend it for you guys either. So, we're now going to move into some of the level 9s. Starting with the decent level 9s. I don't think there are any particular bad ones, but they read well on paper, but I don't know if certain ones are going to make it into the Kyber 1 scene or even be worth it for anyone to gear up certain squads. The first decent one is going to be Princess Nisa for Ewoks, and I'm going to read it, but I just don't think that Ewoks are going to be game-changing and become part of the meta because of this, and I don't want to get them to Relic 7 for this level 9, but
Whenever Princess Nisa attacks out of turn, she gains 10% critical damage and offense, stacking to 200% until she is defeated. Like, that is really strong. If there were no Galactic Legends at the start of battle, her out-of-turn attacks deal an additional 15% critical damage on offense, ignore protection, they deal an additional instance of true damage. So that's obviously very strong, but there are so many more impactful teams that are just going to absolutely destroy Ewoks. Whenever Nisa uses a special ability, that target enemy is inflicted with 1 stack of damage over time for 1 turn. I just think there's too many squads in this game to make Ewoks be a part of the meta or be on the map. I just can't picture it being strong. Will there be really insane players that have high relic and really good modding Ewoks that could take out like Princess Leia or Galactic Legend Leia? Probably. I just simply do not want to put that type of investment towards my Ewoks. So it's decent, but not game-breaking meta-wise. Next decent one, Tusken Shaman. The first time a Tusken ally inflicts a debuff each turn, they gain 5 stacks of heal over time. The target enemy is inflicted with 2 stacks of damage over time. The first time an ally loses any stacks of momentum, they gain 1 stack of momentum for 3 turns, 2 stacks of heal over time for 2 turns, trigger all allies stacks of heal over time, and trigger all enemy stacks of damage over time. So Tuskens haven't really been a strong defensive team in a while, and on offense, there's no protection recovery for them. It's only heal over time, so I can't picture this being super impactful in terms of being good, efficient, or meta. I think it's strong. I don't think it's going to make Tuskens a very strong defensive squad, but we're going to have to see. Maybe better in 3v3 than 5v5, but it's nothing over the top, but it's not bad either. The next decent one for the attacker / healer level 9 is Talia. Whenever Night Sister allies use a special ability on an enemy with any stacks of plague, all other Night Sister allies assist. A random enemy is inflicted with 1 stack of plague, which can't be resisted, and the cooldown for Water of Life is reduced by 1. If Mother Talzin is the ally in the leader slot at the start of battle, at the start of each Night Sister ally's turn, all plagued enemies are marked for 1 turn. So this is interesting. Do I think it's going to make Night Sisters a part of this meta? I really don't. I don't think by adding Mark and adding an extra stack of Plague is going to make them super powerful, but we're going to have to see. Maybe, who knows, maybe you get some crazy synergy with Great Mothers. You put Talia with an attacker level 6, and you mix in Merrin with, like, you put, like, Great Mothers, Morgan, and Spirit with Merrin and Talia. Maybe that could form some type of team with the assisting, and maybe it's annoying on defense. I don't know for sure. We're going to have to see. The second part would be turned off because there's no Mother Talzin, but we'll have to see. I don't think it's going to be crazy impactful. We're now going to move on to the strong ones for the attacker. I think the strongest one for the attacker, Kron, this set is going to be Batcher. And this one is a repeat from previous sets. It is Batcher is immune to daze and stun. Whenever Batcher damages an enemy, she removes 15% turn meter from them and gains that much turn meter. If there are no Galactic Legends, enemies can't gain bonus turn meter. That's extremely important for certain squads that don't have GLs. Turn meter is a very big determinant for teams to get going. Whenever another Bad Batch ally is inflicted with Captive, reset the cooldowns of Batcher's abilities. She dispels all debuffs on her, and she takes a bonus turn. So that's a pretty strong mechanic. I think Bad Batch are going to take a really big resurgence this season because of the Attacker 6 and the Batcher 9, especially against non-GLs. I'm a really big fan of it, and I'm definitely going to be going for it. I've actually been playing with it, and I'm beating multiple Galactic Legends on offense. Now, this Cobb Vanth one, I have played against in Grand Arena, and I'm not going to say I was disappointed, but I think this will make them worse on defense. I'm going to explain why later. But it's still pretty strong if you can utilize it to your certain advantage. At the start of battle, if all allies are Constable, Jawa, or Tuskens, gain the following effects. Constable support allies are inflicted with Mark until all other allies have taken a turn. The first time Cobb Vanth uses High Noons against each enemy, they gain the Outlaw tag. That's pretty strong. Whenever Cobb uses High Noons against an enemy Outlaw, reduce the cooldown of High Noons by 3. So here's the problem, and this is the reason why I'm putting it on offense only. If you put this team on defense, Lobot has a cleanse that's going to be cleansing the marked immediately. So that marked mechanic is practically useless once Lobot cleanses. Did not stop Bo-Katan from countering it. Didn't stop a lot of things from countering it. So I think that this is not going to be a defensive Kron. This is more of a offensive Kron because you can utilize the AI to your advantage. You won't have to cleanse with Lobot, and you can play the battle the way you want. So I'm putting this in the strong category, but specifically for offense, and that's for the reasons why. And I'm happy I waited to, put this out because I played against it in Grand Arena. I got to see what it was like. It's cool, but not game-changing like we think. So that's why it's on the strong offensive category, but I think there's going to be a better one for Cobb Vanth later on. So let's move right into the next one, which is the support level 9. And there's two strong ones, and this is where I was leading at to begin with. And the Jar Jar one, as strong as it is, it's not going to be your go-to for Gungans this season. I'd still read strong, but you're going to want to go for the Attacker Con with Gungans this season. I will explain why later. But first one, when Jar Jar Binks inflicts a debuff or is inflicted with a debuff, he gains 10% turn meter. Whenever a Gungan ally assists Jar Jar Binks, they shock the target enemy for 1 turn, and they are inflicted with plasma residue. Otherwise, apply a stack of frustration for 1 turn. At the start of each Gungan ally's turn, they inflict accuracy down and evasion down on the healthiest enemy for 1 turn. If all allies are Gungans at the start of battle, whenever Jar Jar Binks evades an attack, a random enemy's cooldowns are increased by 1, and a random Gungan ally's cooldowns are decreased by 1. So, it's obviously very strong on paper. It is. The problem is that the Datacron set is so much more impactful than the support that it's like you're better off running the defense to offense or 100% more damage with Tarpals and Boomadier because they can one-shot teams. But if you don't end up using Gungans for that reason or the Datacron, this is probably one of the better ones of the set. So I have to include it here. It is strong, but there are better ones out there for Gungans. Now, I think the go-to Cobb Vanth Datacron this set is going to be with Chief Nebbit, because I've been playing around with it, and the Jawas are practically unkillable. At the start of battle, all Jawa allies gain 300% bonus protection. Whenever an ally is inflicted with a thermal detonator, Chief Nebbit gains 25% defense stacking to 400%, and Jawa allies recover 25% health and protection. They are practically unkillable. Unless they're getting insta-killed, then no one's getting through them. It's insane how tanky the Jawas are. The bonus protection, the endless defense ramping, that constant health and protection recovery is just so freaking strong. So your Scavenger and your Nebbit are going to be safe. And I was playing around with the Cobb Vanth squad, so this durability and survivability is there. The biggest thing is, can you deal enough damage? I'm a big fan of it, but there's something to keep in mind. Now, next decent one, or the first decent one, is going to be Paplu. And this is interesting, because I don't know how this is going to go, and I don't know if it's going to impact certain matchups, but it reads pretty strong. Paplu taunts for 2 turns at the start of battle, which can't be dispelled. If there were no Galactic Legends at the start of battle, allies ignore taunt effects while Paplu is taunting, so that's a Galactic Legend clause. But this next part isn't. Whenever Paplu uses a special ability, allies gain 50% defense and offense stacking for 300% and recover 25% health and protection. Whenever Paplu loses Galvanize, decrease the cooldowns of all Ewok allies by 2. Hear me out. What if you threw Paplu in a GL Ray squad? I'm not going to say it's not going to be beaten easily, but GL Ray getting 300% defense and offense is pretty strong. Pretty strong. The question is Paplu going to be around to take a turn? Or stall the battle out enough so that you can get stuff going? This is the interesting part. So we're going to have to see, but your entire team is gaining defense and offense. Ray with all that extra offense is crazy. Ben Solo with that extra offense is crazy. So we're going to have to see how this goes. There's a potential chance for getting 300% of those stats. So, not saying it's going to go for Ray. I'm just saying, hear me out, it could be going with Ray. And the next decent one is going to be Tarful. If there are no Galactic Legends, Wookiee allies gain 1 stack of Bulwark for 1 turn. Each time they attack at a turn and are critically hit, evade or lose taunt. So, not that Wookiees are crazy overpowered, but it's pretty nice to have. It won't be over the top insane, but I think it's still a pretty decent one if you have the Wookiees up and running, especially with Yoda and Chewbacca. So, that's going to wrap up the support level 9s. We're now going to go into the OP category and talk about the Datacron that I think is the most impactful for the set and the one that you're going to want to go for everyone, especially if you got the Lightspeed bundle for it, or if you use the token. And you guys are probably not shocked about this, but this character was useless and is useless. But this set makes them a monster, and it is nothing other than Ugnaught. This is the most broken one of the set by far, and you're going to understand why in a second. At the start of battle, if Hondo, Onaka, and Ezra Bridger are allies and there are no other allies, gain the following effects. At the start of each turn, if Hondo Onaka has more stacks of ransom than Ugnaught, Ugnaught and Ezra gain 2 stacks of ransom, max 50, stacking max of 50, which can't be copied, dispelled, or prevented, and all allies gain 25% defense and offense stacking for the rest of battle. These increases persist through defeat. Whenever Ezra Bridger assists, he gains Dramatic Entrance for 1 turn. The strongest ally who doesn't have it gains Frenzy until the start of their next turn. And the weakest ally who doesn't already have it gains Tactical Genius for 1 turn. Whenever Ugnaught uses a basic ability, the spell all debuffs on all allies. Then all allies assist a total of 6 times. Whenever Ugnaught uses a special ability, the spell all enemy buffs and fracture the target enemy until the start of Ugnaught's next turn, or until Ugnaught is defeated. So he has a fracture. At the start of battle, all allies gain 400% bonus protection and backup plan for the rest of battle. Whenever an ally takes damage, all allies recover 30% health. At the start of battle, if Ugnaught is on offense, allies gain 50% evasion until the end of battle. If there are no Galactic Legends, they gain an additional 50%. So, on offense, you're not going to be able to get hit against squads that don't have unavoidable hits. You're gaining 100% evasion. That is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Regardless of the evasion or not, it still reads really strong on defense, but the best benefit you're going to get from it is on offense. You're literally gaining 100% evasion against non-GL squads. So we're going to have to see how that performs. But regardless, it's crazy. You're still gaining 50% evasion against certain GLs. So maybe we'll be able to beat certain squads. So by far the most interesting of the set. Going to be crazy, really powerful in 3v3. We're going to have to see how it is in 5v5, but absolutely broken nuts. So if you guys got Ugnaught at Relic 10, you're really going to benefit from that Lightspeed bundle because, my god, this is insane. So, with all that said and done, that's going to wrap up the review, but I have 2 slides for you. 2 remaining slides. I like to create a little cheat sheet at the end, an infographic, talking about what squads to go for and the priority, as well as what 3, 6, and 9 to obtain. And also, I'm throwing in a little bonus because I took so long. I have an extra infographic talking about certain GL squads that you want to utilize with the 3, 6, and 9 and what to go for. So, without further ado, let's go right into it, and I'm going to move my webcam back over here. As you can see, this is going to be the infographic, and this is going to be available in my Discord. So if you want to find this in my Discord, go to the description down below and click on the Discord link. You're going to find these in the Datacron infographic section. So this is what it's going to look like. I have everything laid out here for what you want to go for the regular set. I have the best 3 and 6 on the bottom, and pretty much talking about what I will be going for this season in priority. So as you can see, I got the crit avoid for the tank 3, just in case you're in 5v5, you want to throw in a tank, and the grit for the support. But practically, this is what I'm recommending, just talking about everything. If you guys have any questions about this, definitely let me know in my Discord. Now, what I want to do next is go to the next slide, and it's a little bonus feature, talking about the Galactic Legends and whether I think they should be landing this season, what Datacrons you should be going for. So I listed every single Galactic Legend and what Datacron to go for in terms of the 3, 6, and 9. So, as you can see, a lot of them are utilizing the Attackercron. There's an argument to be made that all of them should be using an Attackercron. So, there's an argument for everything. Like Leia and GL Ahsoka Tano can easily utilize Attackercrons because of Drogon as well as Sabine, because they're all heavy damage dealers. So, like I said, there's an argument to be made, but I wanted to break it up a little bit. I do think that the support ones are pretty good, but we are going to have to see. So, that is going to wrap up this video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like, comment down below, subscribe for more content from your boy Vex, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. May the Force be with you all. Peace.